So, I heard you want a code.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to episode 4 of our Roblox Studio scripting tutorials. In this one, we're going to finally get to loops, and there are 3 different loops here. We've got our repeat loop, our for loop, and our while loop. Right now, we're going to focus on our while loop. Basically, what I've done is I've gone and laid out some variables here. Our first one is our current count, which is 0, and our max count, which is 20, and our delay count, which is 2. So you can think of this as, let's say this is the current count that the loop has repeated. Or no, let's put it in better terms. Let's say the amount of times that the loop has repeated. Then we'll say our max count is the amount of times we want our loop to repeat. And this right here is going to be the amount of seconds between each loop repetition. Let's say that. So basically, we're going to make current count go up by 1 each time that the loop happens. And each time that the loop happens, it's going to check whether max count is reached. So if current count is, let's say, 10 and it goes to 11, well, that's not 20, and so it's going to keep going. If this was 19 and went up to 20, then it's going to check, does current count equal max count? And if it does, then we're going to break out of the loop. And basically, in a while loop, you could do something like this: while true, do. And this is saying while true is equal to true, which is going to be constantly, so forever. You can't really change this right here unless you used a variable. Then it is going to constantly and rapidly repeat whatever instructions you put into the loop. Now, one thing to keep in mind when you do a loop like this, it is going to run so fast that it will crash your game if you do not put a task.wait delay count. Or you could simply put task.wait 1, that would be good. You could put task.wait 0.0001, and that would be good too. As long as there is a wait in there, your game will not crash. But if I simply remove this, then my game will crash. So just keep that in mind. So what I've done here is I've done while task.wait the delay count. So while 2 seconds, while waiting 2 seconds, do this. So basically, every 2 seconds, it's going to do what we want it to do. So now let's work on the part where we increment current count by 1. So to do that, it's actually pretty simple in Lua U. All you have to do is current count plus equals 1. And then we're going to check, does current count equal or exceed the max count? And to do that, what we would do is an if statement. If current count is greater than or equal to max count, then what you want to do is break. And so basically what this is saying is wait 2 seconds, and every 2 seconds, it's going to add 1 to our current count. And then, if the current count is greater than or equal to our max count, which is 20, then we break. And what break does is it finds the loop that you're in, which is going to be this while loop, and it cancels it from running. Therefore, it will, any code that you have after it can now run, but only after our current count has reached 20. So let's say, let's do a print so that we can see what our current count actually is. So let's say print repetitions, and then we're going to do string concatenation again, which is just connecting 2 string values together. And then we're going to say toString, which converts a number to a string. And a string is just characters, it's just text. So don't get too confused there. And we're just going to write current count in the brackets. Basically, adding brackets to something like this is like giving it an argument. And an argument is what the function is going to use inside of itself. So let's say, in this case, toString, then in brackets, current count. We're saying turn this string into a current count. Or no, turn this number into a string. But what number are we talking about? We're talking about the current count. And therefore, it's turning our current count number into a string value and then printing it in our print section here. So now I'm also going to do a thing where I write print repetitions reached max. There we go. And so now if we were to play the game, you'll see down here in my output that it will count to 20. It'll take about 40 seconds, I think, or something like that, somewhere around 40. And, or it might take, yeah, it'll take 40 seconds to reach 20. And you see it's counting. It's going from 1, it's gotten to 9 so far, going to 10, 11, 12, and it's going to keep going until it reaches 20. So you'll see that in a second here. And once it reaches 20, it should tell us that the repetitions has reached the max. So 19, 20, reached max count. So that's good. And now it's stopped. It's not going to print anymore. So that's how you make a nice and simple while loop. And now I'm just going to comment this out so we can work on a different kind of loop. Okay, so now we're going to get on to our for loops, which basically they take a list that you give it and it does something to each item in the list. So basically you're saying for the amount of repetitions that the loop has gone through, the child, which is the item in the list, in pairs. So it's saying each item individually in the list of parts folder get children, do something to each item in the list. And the list, if we ran this code right here, it gives us a list like this: part 1, part 2, and part 3, because those are the items that we have in our parts folder. So when you're doing get children, it gets a list of these 3 parts that are in there. Now, if I were to print the repetitions and then print the child's name, then you'll see, just 1 sec, I'm going to add a delay of 1 second. You'll see that every 1 second, it'll print, the first time it'll print 1, and then it'll print part 3, or part 1, part 2, whichever one it chooses. And then it'll say repetitions 2, the next child. Then it'll say repetitions 3, and then the next child. So let's see how that works. So as you can see, it says repetitions 1, child is part 3. Repetitions 2, child is part 2. Repetitions 3, child is part 1. So now you can see that it looped through 3 times because there's only 3 parts in here, and it told us the name of each part that was in there. Now let's say that you wanted to do something to each part that is in the folder here. So let's simply say, let's do something like this. Let's say child.transparency equals child.transparency plus 0.1. Or let's say 0.5 because it'll be more easy to see. But transparency is just the ability to see through something. So each part here, as you can see, is solid. You can't see through it. But once we go through the loop, it's going to add 0.5, and now it's become half transparent, and you can see through it. So it's going to change the transparency, and we'll also do something. We will change the brick color. So let's do child.brickColor equals brickColor.random brackets. Okay? So what it's doing is it's adding the transparency 0.5, making it so that we can see through the brick, and then it is changing the brick color to a random color. Right now, you can see that it's red, blue, and green. Now let's see what happens when we play. As you can see, they all changed to a random color, and they went half transparent, so you can see through them. And that is that. That's how the for loop works. It looped through, and we can better visualize it if I add a wait before the loop. So let's say wait 5 seconds. That way we have time to load into the game, and we'll wait 2 seconds in the loop between each part getting affected. So let's play. Wait 5 seconds, watch the parts. 1 changed, 2 changed, and then 3 changed. So that is simply how a for loop works. It looped through each part in this folder and did something to each part. Now, let's use our repetitions count to do something. So let's say if repetitions is equal to 1, then, and basically you use 2 equal signs if you're saying it is equal to something. So if repetitions is equal to 1, which means we have only looped through 1 time, then let's say we want the child.transparency to equal 0.5. And then we'll say else if repetitions equals 2, then child.brickColor, or no, let's say child.material equals enum.material.neon. And basically what this is saying is it's getting a material class and it is setting it to neon. So this is just a material class, which you can find all the material classes by simply looking at your part and looking through this list here. So we'll scroll down and you'll see neon as one of the material classes. Therefore, we can write child.material equals enum.material.neon. Now, if I wanted to make it, let's say we wanted to make it pebble, then I would just write enum.material.pebble. child.pebble, just like that. And it would change it to pebble. But I'm going to make it neon because it's much easier to see. And then we're also going to say else if repetitions equals 3, then we are going to do both. We're going to write child.transparency equals 0.5, and we will add child.material equals enum.material.neon. And what this will do is after each loop, it'll change the child's transparency for the first one. It'll change the second one to a neon material. Then for the third one, it's going to change its transparency and change it to neon. So let's see what happens when we play. You wait 5 seconds. That one went transparent. That one turned to neon. That one went neon and turned transparent. And that is how you can use the repetitions so that for each repetition, it does something different. And that is basically a for loop in the simplest way I can explain it. And for now, I'm going to comment it out, and then we're going to go to our repeat loop, which is down here. So we need a delay count. So what I'm going to do is uncomment this delay count, and this is amount of seconds between each loop repetition. So it's saying repeat, wait 2 seconds. So it's going to repeat, wait 2 seconds. So constantly right now, it's going to wait 2 seconds until the current count is greater than or equal to the max count. So we also need these uncommented here. So our current count is 0 and our max count is 20. So it's going to wait 2 seconds. Then what we're going to do is we're going to add 1 to our current count like we did in the while loop. And it's going to repeat this. It's going to wait 2 seconds, add 1 to current count, and then it automatically checks, does current count is current count greater than or equal to our max count every time that it loops through. And every time it loops through, it's checking this automatically. So we're going to write print repetitions and then toString current count. And that is basically saying print repetitions and the amount of times that it has repeated. And so then after you've finished your repeat loop, you can write repetitions, and then we could just say reached max. And this, you'll see, is only going to run after this loop has made current count equal or greater than max count, which is up here, 20. And it's starting at 0. So when we play, you'll see that it goes up to 1, and then 2, and then 3, until it reaches 20, and then it'll tell us that it reached its max count. So let's see. 5, 6, 7, and it started at 1, so it's going up. 9, 10, and we'll see in a few seconds here that it's going to reach 20, and then it's going to tell us that it reached the maximum. So let's see. 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20 reached max. So that is a way of doing something, repeating a task a certain amount of times, and then after that task has repeated that amount of times, then it runs the code after it. And so let's do something like this. Let's say parts folder dot part one dot material equals enum dot material dot neon. And what this is doing is it's saying basically, actually, let's do something else. Let's combine our repeat loop with a for loop. So in our repeat loop, we are going to do, or after our repeat loop, we're going to do a for loop, and we'll say repetitions, child in pairs, and again, parts folder, get children, do. And so this is saying for each child in this parts folder, do something. And we're going to say that we want each child material to change to enum.material.neon. And so after this loop has finished, it's going to change our material of all these parts to neon. Now let's also say in our repeat loop that we want each part to turn to a random color for each time that this loop happens. So let's say child in pairs, parts folder, get children. And remember, get children is just giving you a list of the parts in parts folder here. So for each child, we're going to say child.brickcolor equals brickcolor.random. And you'll see that every time, 20 times, it's going to change all three of these to a random color. And then after that's done, it's going to make them all neon. So let's see how that works. We'll join in here, and you can see they all change random colors, and it's counting still. So we'll see that once it reaches 20, they'll stop changing colors, and it'll simply turn them all to neon. Let's see if that works. So here it is, still changing colors, and it's randomly cycling through, changing the colors. And once it reaches 20, it'll stop changing their colors and simply turn them all to a neon material. Let's see if it does that. We're almost there. 20, and now they are all neon. It's kind of hard to see with some of the colors. Some of them don't show up as neon very well. But if I went into the parts folder and I check, all of them have a material type of neon. You can see that part 1 is neon, part 2 is neon, and part 3 is neon. So it is working. What we did works perfectly. And that is pretty much the simple repeat loops, for loops, and while loops. And now you should know a decent amount about loops, or at least the basic functionality of them. Now, I kind of do have a bit of a task for you guys, some homework. I want you to create a while loop where every 1 second it will print, let's say it prints a message, any message you want. So every 20 seconds, or no, every 1 second, I want it to print a message. Now, after it has printed that message, check if the loop has gone through 30 times. And if the loop has gone through 30 times, I want you to break out of the loop. And then after you've broken out of the loop, I want you to print the message that says loop broken. And if you can do this, then I'll be very proud of you. You should know how, based on the 4 tutorials now that we have. You should be able to do that. If you have any questions, be sure to leave them in the comments and I'll get back to you right away. Yeah, and I hope you guys are enjoying this series so far. I'm just trying to break down the basics and fundamentals of Roblox scripting. And we'll get into more advanced things later on. But for now, I hope you guys have enjoyed. And let me know in the comments if you were able to get your homework completed. Let me know if you got it to work. And I'll heart your comment or something. But for now, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.